My parents kicked me out at 18 after I told them I was gay. They later paid for my brother's dream mansion. A decade later, they wanted a place to stay. I told them, "There's no room here, sorry." "You're seriously saying no?" Caleb's voice cracked through the speaker like I had just slapped him. "I'm saying there's no room, Caleb. That's it. They're your parents, Eliza. They made mistakes, but, no room," I repeated, steady but not cruel. "They made their choices. Now I'm making mine." I wasn't planning to write this. I usually just lurk, but something about today, about hearing from Caleb after a full decade of silence, made me feel like maybe someone out there would understand. Or at least help me sort through the guilt that keeps bubbling up, even though I know I have no reason to feel any. I was a 28 female at the time, now 30, came out to my parents at 18. We lived in a conservative, deeply religious town outside Asheville, North Carolina. My parents, Rhonda and Dale, were community staples. Sunday church, Rotary Club, bake sales, the whole bit. From the outside, we were a picture-perfect Southern family. Inside, it was like walking a tightrope across glass. I always knew who I was, even as a kid. I just didn't have the words yet. By the time I came out, it wasn't dramatic, I wasn't shouting or rebelling. I sat across the kitchen table and told them the truth. I wanted them to hear it from me, not find out from gossip or through someone else. Rhonda cried. Dale stared at me like I had committed treason. They said some version of, "We don't hate you, but we don't support this lifestyle." By the end of the week, my things were packed and left on the porch in 3 plastic storage bins. I wasn't allowed to say goodbye to my younger brother, Caleb, who was 15 at the time. He just watched through the upstairs window as I loaded my beat-up Corolla and drove away. I slept on friends' couches for a few weeks. Then in my car. Eventually I got a night shift waiting tables at a Waffle House and enrolled in community college with financial aid and the help of a very kind counselor who fudged a few things so I'd qualify. It wasn't glamorous. I washed my hair in public bathrooms more than once. I learned how long you can stretch a jar of peanut butter. I walked to work when I couldn't afford gas. But I made it. Slowly. Painfully. Scraping by. At 21, I met Harper. She was everything I hadn't known I needed. Tall, quiet, whip-smart. We moved in together into a tiny duplex that we painted ourselves. We didn't have much, but we had each other. It was the first time in my life I felt truly safe. I kept working, kept studying. Eventually, I earned my degree in social work and got hired by a nonprofit that helps LGBTQ+ teens who are homeless or estranged from their families. Every time I sit across from a scared 16-year-old who's just been kicked out, I see myself. It makes the work painful, but purposeful. Meanwhile, my family never reached out. I was blocked on Rhonda's social media. Dale didn't even have a phone number I knew of. Caleb? Dead silence. He had inherited the golden child title after I was cast out. Football scholarship, business degree, a big white wedding. I found out through other people that when he and his wife bought their first house, my parents helped pay for it, actually, more like bought it. 5 bedrooms. 2-car garage. Mountain views. A gift, they called it. I cried when I saw the photos. Not out of jealousy, but grief. They never sent me a card when I graduated college. But they handed him a literal mansion because he stayed within their lines. Fast forward to last week. I get a call from an unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in my gut told me to answer. It was Caleb. We hadn't spoken in 10 years. I didn't even recognize his voice at first. He didn't waste time on small talk. Just launched into it. Mom and Dad were broke. Dale's construction company went under a year ago. Rhonda had some health issues that drained their savings. They defaulted on their mortgage. Sold their cars. Had been staying in someone's guest room, but now that was over too. He asked if I had space. Just temporarily. They're not asking for much, he said. Just a roof. I stood in my kitchen, staring at the hydrangeas Harper planted last spring. The smell of fresh bread was still lingering. She'd baked it earlier, just because. Our cat, Momo, was napping on the windowsill. It had taken me years to build this piece. And now, Caleb was asking me to bring in the people who had torn me down so completely I almost didn't survive it. I asked him point blank, would they even want to live with me? With Harper? He paused. Then muttered, "They've changed." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I'd heard that line before. From dozens of teens I worked with. They say they've changed, but only now that they need something. I told him no. Calmly. Not angrily. Just. No. There's no room here, I said. He started to argue. Said I was being bitter. That I was holding a grudge. That family was family. I reminded him I was homeless at 18. That they kicked me out. I said I didn't owe them anything. And then I hung up. He's been texting since. Saying I'm cruel. That I'm punishing people who are already down. That mom is crying every night. I won't lie. Part of me feels awful. I don't want to be this person. I'm not vengeful by nature. But then I look around my home. At the life I've worked for. At Harper, who held me together when I fell apart. At the kids I mentor, who look at me like I'm someone they can grow into. And I think, maybe this is okay. I haven't told Harper everything yet. Just that my brother called. She saw the look on my face and didn't ask questions. Just made me tea and rubbed my back until the tension softened. So. Am I wrong? Should I have said yes? Is there any version of this story where I come out looking like a good person? Because right now. I'm not sure. She made me tea and rubbed my back until the tension softened, like she always does when I go quiet but don't want to talk. It's one of those things she just knows about me. I sat on the couch with the mug between my hands for half an hour without taking a sip. I kept thinking about how easy it had been for Caleb to say, "They've changed." What does that even mean? Do people change because they've reckoned with their mistakes and grown from them? Or do they change because the world forced them to, because now they need something? The more I sat with it, the more my stomach turned. I hadn't heard a word from my parents in a decade. 10 whole years. I had wondered if they were still in the same house. I used to check the county tax records online just to see if their names still came up. That's how distant we were. I had to use public records to track whether they were alive or not. Not once did they reach out. Not when I graduated. Not when I bought my first car. Not when Harper and I bought our house. Not even when I sent them an invitation to our wedding 4 years ago. I didn't expect them to come. But I wanted them to at least know. I wanted some acknowledgement, even if it was silence. But they sent the invitation back, returned to the sender. In the same envelope. So now, when everything's gone, when they're in need, I'm supposed to be the one to save them? And then there's Caleb. I used to love him so much. When we were kids, he was always the goofy one. The one who snuck me pieces of Halloween candy when Mom wasn't looking. He'd climb trees and dare me to do the same, and I always would, even if I scraped my knees. He was my best friend once. But after I came out and everything fell apart, he didn't defend me. Didn't speak up. Didn't text. Didn't send a message to say, "I'm sorry this is happening." He just stepped into the space I left behind and filled it. Took their love. Took the house. Took the safety I lost. And now he wants me to be the safety net for them? I feel torn. Because I'm not without empathy. I know what it's like to not have a place to go. I know what that feels like in your bones. The anxiety of not knowing where you'll sleep that night. The sick twist in your gut when you ask someone for help and have to wait for their answer. But they never gave me that grace. Not even once. And it's not like I'm living in a mansion, either. Harper and I have a modest two-bedroom house, one of those older craftsman homes from the 1930s. It's charming, but tight on space. We turned the second bedroom into her art studio. It's her sacred space, the only place where she truly unwinds, surrounded by brushes, canvases, and the soft hum of jazz vinyls. Even if I wanted to take them in, where would they go? On the couch? For how long? Weeks? Months? A year? Would they be okay with the books on our shelves? The photo of our wedding framed on the hallway wall? The rainbow doormat that says love wins? Would they be okay with me, now? Because I'm not the same girl they threw out. I'm stronger now. Older. Queer, proud, and married to the love of my life. I've carved this piece out of hard ground, with scarred hands and sleepless nights. And I'm not sure I could watch Rhonda fold laundry in my living room or hear Dale making coffee in my kitchen without remembering all those nights I cried myself to sleep wondering why I wasn't enough for them to love. Still. I keep checking my phone. Caleb hasn't texted since yesterday. His last message was, "This is who you've become? You're worse than them." That one stung. Because for so long, I was trying not to become like them. Cold. Closed. Self-righteous in their certainty that they were always morally right. But am I? I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I'm protecting myself, yes. But does that mean I've let my pain turn me bitter? Or am I just setting boundaries that should have been set a long time ago? I've asked myself that over and over again. At work, while helping a teen file for food stamps. In the shower. While folding laundry. Even while lying next to Harper as she slept, steady breathing against my shoulder, the weight of our cat curled at our feet. I can't tell if this is healing. Or punishment. But I know one thing, the idea of opening my door and seeing Rhonda's eyes again, or hearing Dale grumble under his breath about Harper being a bad influence, or walking on eggshells in my own home, that scares me more than the guilt. Still, there's something I haven't told Harper yet. Something I'm keeping close because I'm not ready to face what it might mean. A letter. It arrived 3 days after Caleb's call. No return address. Familiar handwriting. Dear Eliza, it begins. Dear Eliza, it begins, I know I am the last person you want to hear from. Maybe even the one you hate most. And I won't blame you if this goes straight into the trash. But I hope, I truly, desperately hope, you read this through. I didn't read it all at once. The first time I opened the envelope, I read the first 2 lines, felt my throat tighten, and folded it back up. Left it on the kitchen counter under the fruit bowl for 2 days. I kept moving it from spot to spot, under the coasters, inside a cookbook, then tucked into a drawer with spare batteries and charger cords. Harper saw it once but didn't ask. She's like that, quietly intuitive, never prying. When I finally sat down and read it, it felt like a punch. Not because the words were harsh, but because they were too soft. Like she was trying to rewrite history with a sad tone and a shaky pen. Your father and I were wrong. We thought we were protecting you by keeping you from sin. But all we did was lose our daughter. And we have paid for it, 10 times over. You don't have to forgive us. We don't expect that. But we are out of options. We're scared. Dale's health is failing. I am not well, either. And Caleb. Bless him, he's trying, but there's only so much he can do with 2 kids and his job. If there is any space in your life for a conversation, just a conversation, I would be grateful. If not, I understand. I know we don't deserve anything from you. But I love you. I always have, even if I showed it in the worst ways. Love, Mom. I sat with that letter in my lap for what felt like hours. The paper was cheap. The ink smeared in a few places. I wondered if that was from her crying while she wrote it, or just from bad penmanship and a shaky hand. I didn't cry. I wanted to. A few years ago, I would have. But now I just felt blank. Hollow. Like someone had opened a closet I boarded shut a decade ago and let all the air out. I couldn't decide if I was more furious at her for having the nerve to write to me, or furious at myself for softening the moment I saw love, Mom. Harper was the one who finally broke the silence. We were brushing our teeth side by side. She caught my eyes in the mirror. "That letter," she said between spits. "From your mom?" I nodded. She didn't push. But later that night, in bed, she asked if I wanted to talk. I shook my head. She wrapped her arm around my waist anyway, pulled me close, and said softly, "Whatever you decide, you're not alone." It was such a simple sentence. But it cracked something in me. Because the last time I faced a life-altering decision about my family, I was alone. Crying in a Honda Civic, parked behind a closed diner, watching my breath fog up the windshield while I tried to figure out where I could sleep that night. No one had my back. No one was checking on me. No one was on my side. Now, Harper is. And that makes this decision more complicated, somehow. The next morning, I reread the letter again. More carefully this time. I tried to look at it like a stranger might. No emotion. Just the facts. And here's what I saw: my mother didn't ask to move in. She didn't demand anything. She didn't even ask for forgiveness. She just asked for a conversation. But then again, isn't that what torment always start with? The soft question? The open door? That's what I'm struggling with. Is this true regret? Or just desperation? At work, I talked with one of my coworkers, Marla. She's older, late 50s, and kind of like everyone's surrogate office mom. She's got a wicked sense of humor and a deep well of hard-won wisdom. I didn't tell her everything, but I gave her the outline. She didn't hesitate. "You don't owe them a damn thing," she said, stabbing her salad with a fork. "But you do owe yourself honestly. Do you want closure? Or do you want distance? Both are valid. But you can't have both." That stuck with me. Closure or distance? I've lived with distance for 10 years. It's become a kind of armor. Cold, but reliable. And now that I finally have warmth in my life, this home, Harper, our quiet routines, I'm terrified of letting something in that might rip all that open. And Caleb? He hasn't stopped texting. This morning's message read, "They won't survive the winter if they don't have a place." You know that, right? No, I don't know that. I don't know. I'm not privy to their lives. I don't know how bad things are. I don't know if Dale is really sick or just tired from losing money. I don't know if Rhonda is scared or just manipulating. And I hate that I have to question it. I used to love my parents. I still do, in some deep down, irrational, childlike way. That kind of love doesn't vanish, it just hides under layers of betrayal and hurt in time. But love isn't the same as trust. And I don't know if I can trust them. I haven't answered Caleb. I haven't answered the letter. I've talked to Harper a little more now. Told her the gist of what Rhonda wrote. She didn't react much, just nodded and said, "I support you either way. Just make sure whatever you do is about what you need, not what they need." That's easier said than done. Because what do I need? Peace? I already have it, in this small house with the chipped paint and the soft blankets and the love that wraps itself around me every single day. But maybe I also need to say things out loud that I never got to say. Maybe I need them to hear it from me, that they hurt me more than they'll ever understand. That I was a child, and they abandoned me. That their version of love came with so many conditions it was indistinguishable from rejection. Maybe I just need them to sit across a table and listen. Or maybe I just need them to keep their distance. I haven't decided yet. But the letter's still in my drawer. And Caleb's messages keep piling up. And today, I came home to another envelope in the mailbox. Different handwriting. Dale's. It sat there in the mailbox like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Just a plain white envelope with my name written in stiff, careful cursive. Dale always wrote like he was carving stone, not letters. I stood there holding it for a while, Harper watching from the porch steps. She didn't ask this time. She just went inside and gave me space. I didn't open it right away. I sat in the car. Then I sat on the steps. Then I stood in the kitchen, turning the envelope over in my hands. I thought about the last time Dale looked at me, really looked at me. I was 18. I had just told them the truth. He didn't shout, didn't get angry. He just stared, blankly, like I had died. And when I asked if I could stay until I figured things out, he didn't say a word. Just turned and walked out of the room. That silence did more damage than any scream ever could have. When I finally opened the letter, it was short. Barely 4 sentences. Eliza, I don't know how to write letters, so I'll keep this brief. I was wrong. I see it now. I failed you. I'm sorry. Dad, I read it twice. I didn't feel vindicated. Or moved. Just tired. Like a weight had shifted from one shoulder to the other, but it was still the same weight. I folded it carefully and placed it inside the same drawer with Rhonda's letter. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just stood there, staring at the wood grain of the drawer's edge. The next day, Caleb called. I didn't answer. He called again. And again. Finally, I picked up. Hello? Eliza. He sounded surprised. Hopeful. I wasn't sure if you'd pick up. I did. He launched into a half plea, half apology, his voice rushing, tripping over itself. Said he didn't mean to guilt me, he just didn't know what else to do. That they had nowhere else to go. That even a couch would be enough. I waited until he was done. Let the silence stretch. Then I said, very calmly, there's a place in town that helps displaced seniors. It's actually not far from where Dad used to do construction. I've already called them. There's a waiting list, but they can help you with temporary shelter and meals. I put your names down. He didn't say anything for a second. That's helpful, he said finally. But you still won't let them stay with you? No, I said. I won't. Eliza, they're our parents. They were, I said. Now they're just 2 people who made their choices. He went quiet. I don't want them to suffer, I added. But I won't be the one to save them either. I already saved myself. That's more than enough. I could hear his breath catch. Could practically feel the disbelief radiating through the phone. You've changed, he said. I have, I replied. And it's the best thing I ever did. Then I hung up. I wish I could say that was the end of it. But life isn't neat like that. They never called again. Rhonda sent one more letter after Dale passed, about 6 months later. Just a folded-up church bulletin with his obituary and a handwritten note that said, I still think of you every day. I understand why you stayed away. I didn't respond. I didn't go to the funeral. I didn't send flowers. Instead, Harper and I took that weekend off and went to the Outer Banks. We rented a little beachfront Airbnb, drank wine on the deck, and watched the tides roll in like the world had no past and no obligation to anything but the horizon. She held my hand and said, You're allowed to grieve. Even this. And I did. Not for sale. Or for Rhonda. I grieved for 18-year-old Eliza. The girl who just wanted her parents to say, we love you no matter what. And then, finally, I let her go. The final note in all this came a few months later. I was asked to speak at a fundraiser for the LGBTQ youth shelter where I work. Just a short speech, nothing fancy. But I wanted to make it matter. I talked about what it means to be thrown away. To be forgotten. To rebuild. And afterward, an older man, white beard, sun-worn hands, maybe early 70s, came up to me in tears. My daughter came out last year, he said. I didn't know what to do. I almost walked away. But then I thought, what if I never get the chance to fix it? You reminded me I still can. He hugged me. And that's when I knew I had already won. Not in a loud, triumphant way, but in the quiet, satisfying way that comes from turning pain into purpose. From choosing peace over performance. From becoming the kind of person I needed when I was 18. Not bitter. Not cruel. Just free. And that is the sweetest revenge of all.